Hey, message to homesteaders and people um, growing and all that stuff. As you know, I quit 2 years ago. I started training for something and had goals in my life, which, depending on how the world goes from here, will determine whether or not I can achieve that goal. However, have you thought of right now being prepared to cover your soil? Okay, I don't know how big your garden plot is or whatever. But should this escalate into nuclear war, which Putin believes and Xi Jinping believe they will win a nuclear war, they believe they will survive and go on and we will not. Okay, they have massive tunnel chains and bunkers under Moscow and other cities in Russia. They've been preparing for 2 years, buying all the food, 60 to 70% of the entire world food supply. Okay, and that's part of the reason why global food prices are so high. It's not just supply chain issues, is that there have been two countries hoarding food, okay? One of them with a lot of people, okay? And I believe India's been buying a lot of food as well. So, but do you blame them? 1.4, 1.5 billion between those two, China's 1.5, India's 1.4 billion people. So a lot of mouths to feed over there should the global food chain fall apart. So my thing to homesteaders is: are you prepared to cover your soil should these events take place? Now, let's hope that nothing like this happens. But could it? Yes. The more that I listen to the leadership of the East talk, the more I realize they believe they will win. They truly believe that, folks. They believe they will win. They believe they will survive. They don't think about mutually assured destruction. They believe they will go on, and we probably won't, okay? Or we'll be so hampered that, you know what I mean? So, have you considered, if you're a homesteader right now, being prepared to cover your soil at a moment's notice? Do you have some tarps and other things that you can keep that radioactivity off of your soil, should it be floating in the air, for 48 to 72 hours while the levels of radioactivity drop 80-90%? Okay, have you thought of that? I know homesteading is a wonderful thing, but that's part of the reason why I'm not all reliant on homesteading. It's a great idea. Are my soils prepped? Have I planted rye for 2 years? Is my soil loaded with winter rye and loaded with nitrogen and everything? Do I have a massive compost pile under a tarp? You bet. Yes, I do. So if the time comes, I can go back to growing. It's just now I have such a surplus in my area, there's no need. The surplus in my area is absurd, okay? Maine is a net food exporter, by the way, if you didn't know that, okay? We grow a lot of food here, folks, and we only got 1.3 billion people or million people, okay? But yeah, we produce a lot of food. So, but back to homesteaders, okay? What about your animals? Okay, are they going to become contaminated during that 3-day window? What are you going to do for them? I mean, if that's your meat source and you're relying on it, have you thought about all this stuff? And what you might be able to do, some simple things you might be able to do for 2 or 3 days while that radioactivity level dissipates, at least down to a reasonable level. So think about your animals. Most of all, think about your soil. I know you're relying on that soil, but have you thought that everything you've planted could be contaminated? In a moment's notice. It could be rendered useless and your soil contaminated. So be aware of that. Think about it. And do you have a couple of plots that you can cover like I do? I've got my tarps ready to go. Those missiles start going off, that's the first thing I'm doing, covering my 2 plots, okay? And I want to save that soil the best that I can. Is it perfect? No. But it's better than having it exposed, isn't it? For that first 48 to 72 hours. You betcha. It's going to make a huge difference, isn't it? So think about that. And that's my message to homesteaders today. Are you ready? I know everybody thinks they're prepared and everybody's got the best idea. But have you thought about this? Okay? And what are you going to do with your animals? And what are you going to do for your soil? At least cover enough soil so that you can grow for you. You know, you may have been planning on helping many others, but this is why it's going to be chaos in SHTF. Okay, what we thought we were going to be able to do may change in a moment's notice, okay? That's the reality of being prepared and being able to adapt, improvise, overcome, and then make do, right? So don't panic, don't worry, you know, fear and panic only lead to mistakes. Be prepared. That's what we're supposed to do. And if you're homesteading or you're farming, you're pretty smart people. I'm sure you can figure something out, right? And especially this time of year, we're talking spring. So while some of us, you know, south and so forth might want to go to planting, we up here in Maine won't even start planting till May. So this is the perfect time if something were to go down where you could possibly reduce that contamination of your soil that you plan on using. So are you prepared? That's my message to you today. All homesteaders, all food growers, are you prepared to save your soil for that first 48 to 72 hours when it will be most critical? You know what I mean? So, and have you thought of alternatives for growing? Okay, and I've got one that's fun, and I'll be sharing that probably this weekend if I get some time. So there are many alternatives to growing outside, aren't there? Okay, do you have some lights and so forth that you can sprout and things of that nature inside? Okay, should all your soil become contaminated and all that sort of thing. So anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I'm not trying to be an alarmist here. I don't want you to panic and live in fear and worry and anxiety. I'm just stating, are you ready to cover the very things you plan on relying on during SHTF in a moment's notice so that you can preserve at least enough soil for you to live on? And that's my message to homesteaders and everybody. Everybody thinks they've got the perfect plan. Folks, nobody's got a perfect plan. You need 2 or 3. There is no perfect prepper. I hate to say it. I'm pretty darn good at this. But I guarantee you there's holes in my preps. There's holes in everybody's preps. Because we all don't think alike. We all think differently. And that's the way it is. But I thought this message was very important for many people who might not even be considering that right now. Livestock and, your growing plots. So think about that. It only takes, 3 days for us to get through that critical time. And then hopefully our soils will be spared for the most part if we cover them. You know what I mean? But consider that and write in. Let me know how you're doing. Thank you to those people who do write in. And give me a thumbs up and or a like or whatever that is. And if you can. And I hope you're all doing well. Hang in there. It's one day at a time, isn't it, right now? So that's okay. That's just life. You know, whether we're here today or gone tomorrow, it's about how you live today. So I hope you're doing well. I hope life is treating you good. And I hope you're staying as relaxed as you can and all of that. But anyway, Jim out.